here are some strategies how to answer the Greek Religion exam. I'm going to break it down question by question. Some of the questions you might not have studied yet, such as the questions on Greek philosophy. This is just an idea of what's on the paper after everything that you have studied. So it's 1 hour 45 minutes. There's a picture question, a prompt question, a 20-mark mini essay, and a 20-mark scholars essay. So that requires scholars' comments. If you want to have a little look at how much you should write for each and how many minutes, you might want to freeze the slide now. So let's look at a 10-mark question. Now you can see you've got 2 short factual questions and a longer question. So if we look at the longer question, you need to bring in all the features on the vase. You need to have learned what all the features are, such as the balls, the ladies dealing with the balls, how they are decorated, the tripods in the background, the purpose of this scene. And you need to know basic information about what type of vase this is. Is it black figure or red figure? So all that you should know before you even, sort of look at the exam paper. The exam paper is there to remind you just what vase it is, but you should know all that information. The 2 short factual questions require short answers. The 10-mark question, no introduction, often not a conclusion if you are explaining or identifying features. So identify at least 10 features which answer the question, 10 marks, 10 features, 11 to 12 to be safe. Pick out as many features in the picture that apply to the question, make them relevant, make a point, back up with evidence. So the prompt sentence is a passage, a short sentence or 2 or 3 sentences which give you an idea of what theme is being covered. So here it's the Panathenaic way in the Panathenaia on the Acropolis. Each year worshippers proceeded along the Panathenaic way and ended their procession on the Athenian Acropolis. Name 3 buildings on the Athenian Acropolis. Explain why the Panathenaia was important to the Athenians. So those are the factual questions, and you've got a 10-marker. No intro. Adding a conclusion depends on the question, so we're going to look at a question on the next slide. Again, identify 11 to 12 points. Make 11 to 12 points to be safe. Make a point, back it up with evidence. So our example of a prompt question is in 399 BC, Socrates was arrested and brought to trial in Athens for impiety. So name 2 specific charges brought against Socrates, very factual. And how controversial were Socrates' views on the gods? So this is the longer 10-mark prompt question, number 2 is. So question 2 does require conclusion. Can you see why? How controversial? To what extent? If in doubt, do a conclusion. Now, the 20-mark mini essay doesn't require scholars' comments. It's either one theme against another, public versus private religion, public worship versus private worship, or identify the most important theme out of a series of themes. For example, is the most important function of a Greek sanctuary public worship or entertainment, or civic unity, the community coming together? So you might have a question, what is the most important function of a Greek sanctuary? Or you might have a statement, the only function of a Greek sanctuary was to provide a space for public worship. So you're aiming about 4 to 6, 5 to 7 themes, and you are looking at the most important of those themes. So again, it's either A versus B, public versus private, the essay split into 2, or it is a number of themes and which is the most important. You can use the visual resources on the paper and the prompt question to help you in the essay. If we look at our 30-mark scholars essay, This is an extension of the 20 mark mini essay. The 20 markers are roughly 2 sides, the 30 markers roughly 3 sides, but you need those scholars' comments in. For both essays, you need an introduction and a conclusion. So it could be X versus Y, or it could be the most important out of a series of themes you've generated. So 5 to 7 themes. At least 3 scholars must be mentioned by name and they must be integrated into the argument. That's, for example, you must use quotes in a way to back up your evidence. You can argue against the quote, you don't have to. You can argue for the quote, which is a lot easier, but you must use it. You can't just let it stand, such and such says this, without connecting it to your argument, without connecting it to the rest of the essay. So again, you can use picture and passage evidence on the paper in your essay. So let's look at the two questions we've got. Well, the question we've got here, sorry. Do you consider participation in Greek religion to be more of a public or private act? Support your opinion with evidence. You may use sources from the exam paper and scholars. So everything on the exam paper you might use, even if you've used it before, you can use it, and your scholars comment, at least 3 scholars comments. So I hope that helps.